Hey, Scott for Scotts2Cents. I'm going to talk about the 2022 Kansas City Chiefs NFL Draft overall. I've got individual videos with round one, day two, rounds 2 and 3, and then day three, rounds 4 through 7. Breakdown might be too strong a word, but I talk individually about all the guys that the Chiefs took. This video is really more of an overall view of the entire draft, all 10 picks that the Chiefs added to the team. And, I think grades are fun, and they're great for media, and they're great for fans to talk about right after. Real grades come a year from now, 2 years from now, 5 years from now, right? That's when we really know what you did. But as of right now, on paper, the Chiefs absolutely nailed this draft. This is an A. I gave every round an A, and I don't. There's nothing that's changed my mind in the last few days. The national media is on board, right? Everybody I've seen nationally loves what the Chiefs have done. I've seen A pluses. I've seen very few A pluses, but they're loving the Chiefs draft. Local guys, for the most part. I mean, Joshua Briscoe doesn't like anything, and even he liked this draft, although he was the most negative here and there. But all the local guys are on this. PFF loved it. I mean, they're if you're an analytics guy, if you're a numbers guy, which I am, huge in baseball. Maybe not as big in football, but I do think there's a lot of data there that just doesn't lie, right? I think that there's a lot of validity in evaluating guys like that by the numbers, by the data. In my real life, my real job, data is an important element of what I do. So I do believe in the data, and the data from PFF says the Chiefs absolutely hit the ball out of the park, right? They won every spot. So look, there's nothing not to like. If you're going to nitpick, could they have added another wide receiver? Could they have added another D end? Yeah, sure, they certainly could have. But I think if you look what they did in the first round with Sky Moore, I think he has the potential to be the best wide receiver in this draft because he's going to be paired with Patrick Mahomes, of course, right? That helps wide receivers big time. But him and Karlaftis, I think the Chiefs expect both those guys to be starters, and I think for a long time. All right, forget about the fifth-year option, right? These could be long-time Chiefs, especially Karlaftis on the end, right? I mean, that gets to be an expensive position eventually, so it's harder to say as does wide receiver. But I think these are guys the Chiefs expect 4 or 5 years minimum production from, and so I think that changed maybe the later rounds. I think maybe that necessity for taking a second shot at another wide receiver, a second shot at another DN, I think the necessity declined when they got those first two guys that they really liked. Now, if that's true, is that a knock on McDuffie, who they went and obviously went way up to get early? No, not necessarily. But the Chiefs have other wide receivers. The Chiefs have another D end, right? They didn't need two D ends. They didn't need two wide receivers. I think there's a really good argument to be made that they needed two DBs. Now, is it two corners? It's not two safeties, I don't think. I think it's maybe one safety and one corner, maybe it's two corners. And look, in today's game, those become pretty interchangeable. They need to be pretty interchangeable. I think Chiefs got guys that can do that, which is important. So, they definitely addressed what they felt like was their biggest need in this draft. Now, some of those guys were a little bit later, so maybe they're not necessarily year one contributors, but they've helped improve the depth of that weakness, for sure. And I do think the Chiefs peaked at 2023, right? There's going to be some hopefully late last pick, first round guys that can take those spots. I also think that the contract situation for some of the wide receivers may have changed. I think they're going to be looking at the potential of extending some of these guys because they didn't go heavy in the draft. I think they brought in one undrafted free agent in each spot, a possible end and a possible wide receivers. Unlikely those guys will hit, but you never know. So again, overall, the Chiefs nailed it. They addressed their biggest problem with depth and quality, and they addressed their next two issues with quality, even if only one addition. I think Moore and Karlaftis are big additions. Love McDuffie. I think he's going to be a star on this team. I think all three of those guys have potential to be stars. That's saying a lot for a draft. I get it, but and look, I'm not a Chiefs apologist. I think as you watch more and more of these videos of mine, look, I'm not just here to blow sunshine up Chiefs fans' backsides. I'll be very critical. I'll absolutely be critical, but this is not the time for it. I think I haven't seen too many Chiefs fans, honestly. Like, look, you always see people hating on whatever their teams do. And supposedly they're fans, they still find ways to hate on it. It's easy with the Royals because there's a lot of things to hate. That's a whole other series of videos. But I haven't seen much negativity from this draft. And that, to me, says a lot because there's always guys out there that are just complaining. There's always something to bitch and moan about with a lot of these guys. And I haven't seen those. Most people have been really happy. Again, there's some nitpicks here and there, but for the most part, everybody's happy with this draft. Certainly the national media is loving it. So, look, the Chiefs got younger. They got more athletic, and you have to do that if you want to be, look, the word dynasty, I don't know what that means anymore, right? I mean, what the Patriots have done, 20 years of Brady was phenomenal. If the Chiefs can come close to that, it's going to be amazing. So, but that's, look, I hate to say Patriots way, but look, the Chiefs have to get younger. And look, Patrick Mahomes' contract is a huge number, but every single year, and it already has happened this year. I mean, the mediocre quarterbacks that are getting up in Mahomes' range, if you look at it on a year-by-year basis, it's ludicrous. This contract gets better and better every single year. And the Chiefs have done a nice job of up and down, big number one year, smaller number the next year, then a big number. So it allows them to get younger. And when I say younger, we mean less expensive, right? It's just these rookies don't cost as much as Deebo Samuel would have, certainly as much as Tyreek Hill would have. Many of the free agents that you want to talk about, there's some big name free agents still out there. And just as an aside, a lot of those big name free agents have a little bit of a history of being kind of problem guys, right? I mean, you look at Ndamukong Suh out there; he's certainly got a history of some issues. There's others. I'm not going to go through all of them. That's not what this video is about. My point is that the Chiefs added talent, they added depth, and they did it at a price tag that means the Kelsey contract's good. The Clark contract is fine. The Jones contract's fine. Mahomes' contract's always going to be fine. Like, again, Mahomes every year is a better and better value. Now, 8 years from now, they may need to be renegotiated in those last couple of years for Patrick and add another 5-year, 8-year deal. Make sure he stays his entire career here. That's a topic for another time down the road. But the Mahomes contract is not the problem like that at all. The Hill contract would have been. Again, go watch my Tyreek Hill video that I need to remake. Something happened to it. Anyway, so look, I think the Chiefs overhauled their biggest problem, which was the secondary. They added a speedy wide receiver that has good hands and is a smart kid who will learn this offense quickly. I think the one concern that I have is the Chiefs were going to be relying on a lot of young players in the secondary. So double-edged sword. One is I'm not sure they can be worse than they were last year, right? They struggled. It was mighty. The problem with that youth is they're going into Spagnuolo's system, which I believe is overly complicated for the sake of being complicated. I really kind of prefer see ball, go get ball, right? Just go fly at the ball as opposed to if this, then that, if that, then this, and it's a complicated system. And so the young guys will need to adjust to that very quickly. And the Chiefs know that, and they take that into account. So hopefully they got some guys that can do that. But again, 2022 NFL Draft for the Kansas City Chiefs. Solid A, no question about it. If you're a Chiefs fan, you absolutely have to be thrilled headed into schedule announcement. Some hints that the Chiefs may be playing Tampa Bay in Germany. We do know the Chiefs will open at home on Thursday night against the Chargers. Watch for my season prediction video much later. But it's going to be an exciting season, and I think the Kansas City Chiefs, who were one play away, really, you can argue that's a little, again, topic for another time. The Chiefs were one play away from their third straight Super Bowl, and they just went out and got a lot better, as did everybody else. Like the AFC West is ridiculous. The AFC is ridiculous. I mean, finally, the last couple of these moves here right before the draft and during the draft, finally were guys going to the NFC, right? Hollywood Brown and Titans receivers. the moves finally were away from the AFC, but the AFC is going to be brutal. But the Chiefs are going to be ready for it because of the draft. Anyway, that's my 2 cents. Subscribe for more. Thanks.